You are not bad with money. You learn to punish yourself with it. And that is why your financial frequency changes starting today is not about becoming someone greedy, reckless, or obsessed with numbers. It is about finally seeing the invisible rule that has been running your choices while you called it responsibility. I know what it feels like to work, save, try again, and still end the month staring at the same ceiling, asking why every step forward seems to pull something else apart. You tell yourself you are being careful, but careful starts to look strange when it keeps you in the same place for years. You say no to a raise before anyone can reject you. You discount your work before someone questions your price. You spend the moment something good begins to arrive, as if keeping it would make you exposed. You sabotage the opportunity before it can fail on its own, then call the collapse proof that you were right not to hope too much. If you knew your relationship with money was taught and not inherited, what would you have done differently until today? I am not asking that to blame you. I am asking because there may be years of your life built around a belief that never belonged to you. Maybe you were not born with a low ceiling. Maybe you were trained to feel safe under one. Maybe the reason abundance feels uncomfortable is not because you cannot hold it, but because your nervous system was never taught that receiving could be normal. The problem was never how much you earn. The problem is something you still have not named, and once you name it, the pattern stops looking like destiny and starts looking like a file. A file can be opened. A file can be questioned. A file can be rewritten. By the end of this, I want you to understand that your financial frequency is not a defect in you. It is a program that learned your fear before it ever learned your possibility. But before rewriting anything, you need to see what is written. I need you to slow down before you accuse yourself again, because the pattern you are living may look irresponsible from the outside, but inside it feels like carrying a rule you never consciously accepted. You are not lazy because you downloaded the budgeting app and stopped opening it after the third week. You are not weak because you promised to save, then moved the money back into your checking account the moment life became uncomfortable. You are not broken because numbers make your stomach tighten before you even know what they say. There is a specific exhaustion that comes from trying to change behavior, while the belief underneath it keeps whispering that more money will only make you more exposed, more judged, more alone, or more responsible for everyone else. So you learn to shrink before anyone asks you to. You ask for the cheaper option even when you know the better one would serve you. You apologize before saying your price. You add extra hours to prove your work deserves payment, then feel strange when someone pays without resisting. You tell yourself you are humble, but part of you is terrified of being seen as ambitious. You tell yourself you are realistic, but realism begins to sound suspicious when it only protects the version of you that stays underpaid, overextended, and available. I have seen people reject a raise because it would bring pressure. I have seen people ruin a good month with unnecessary spending because peace felt unfamiliar. I have seen people avoid sending one message that could change their income because silence felt safer than asking. And I understand why. When wanting more was treated like selfishness, staying small started to feel like proof that you were good. Lucas was 34, a financial analyst, and people trusted him with decisions they could not face alone. He could look at a client's accounts and calmly explain where the leaks were, where the risk was, where the future could be rebuilt. He knew interest rates, emergency funds, investment timing, and debt strategy. But in his own life, he could not keep $500 untouched for one full month. Every time he got close, his body found a reason to return to familiar ground. He paid for a cousin's problem without asking when it would be returned. He bought dinner for friends who earned more than him, because saying no felt like becoming cold. He delayed sending invoices because charging on time made him feel demanding. The detail that embarrassed him most was not the missing money. It was that he knew better. But knowing better does not automatically free a person from what they were trained to feel. As a child, Lucas heard his father say, "People who chase money forget their roots." He watched his mother accept less, smile through resentment, and call it dignity. So when prosperity came close, his body translated it as betrayal. If he earned more, would he become arrogant? If he charged more, would people leave? If he stopped rescuing everyone, would love disappear? That is why I do not believe your first problem is math. Math matters, but math cannot negotiate with a nervous system that learns scarcity as belonging. Scarcity can feel safe because it is familiar. Abundance can feel threatening because it asks you to become visible in a room where visibility once cost you connection. That resistance you call prudence may have protected you for years. It helped you survive people who punished desire, mocked dreams, or only loved you when you needed little. But a shield becomes a cage when you keep holding it after the danger has changed. There is wisdom in respecting risk, but there is also a hidden loyalty in refusing expansion just because someone from your past made limitation feel moral. The question is not whether your caution made sense. It did. The question is whether it still deserves authority over your next decision. And what if your relationship with money is not about money? What if the reason money feels heavy is because your body does not experience it as freedom, but as exposure? That is the rupture I want you to sit with. Even if something in you wants to pull back, you may not have a financial block in the way people casually say it. You may have a safety system that confuses prosperity with danger. So every time something expands, something inside you scans for what could go wrong. Who will expect more from you now? Who will ask for help? Who will judge the way you spend? Who will say you changed? This is why progress can arrive and still feel unstable. Your mind says, "This is what I wanted," but your body says, "This is unfamiliar, so it cannot be safe." And when your body becomes the gatekeeper, it does not care how many plans you wrote, how many podcasts you heard, or how many times you promised that this month would be different. When the body does not feel safe, it does not ask permission before protecting you. It delays, it avoids. It forgets at the exact moment remembering would move you forward. It creates urgency around something smaller, so you do not have to face the larger door. You say you want more income, then you leave the proposal unfinished, because sending it would make the possibility real. You say you are ready to charge better, then you spend 2 days adjusting one sentence in an email because naming your price feels like standing under a spotlight. You say you want to receive, but when someone offers support, praise, money, access, or opportunity, you minimize it before it can touch you. You call the client too difficult before they even respond. You tell yourself the offer probably was not serious. You wait until the deadline almost passes so you can say timing was the issue. You open the message, feel your pulse rise, close it, and then convince yourself you are waiting for the right words. That is not conscious sabotage. That is a learned reflex. A repetition became a reaction. A reaction became an identity. I'm the swang, I'm Goskamamoor. And because it happened slowly, you started calling it personality. You became the reasonable one, the low-maintenance one, the one who does not ask for much, the one who can make little stretch until it almost looks admirable. But look at where that pattern came from before you call it truth. Maybe you heard adults speak about wealthy people with disgust, as if having more automatically meant becoming corrupt. Maybe someone praised sacrifice so often that comfort started to feel morally suspicious. Maybe you watched someone beg, borrow, hide bills, or fight over money, and your body decided that wanting more would only bring conflict. Maybe you were compared to people who had more and were told to be grateful instead of honest. Maybe the first time you wanted something expensive, someone laughed in a way that made your desire feel childish. Maybe every request had to come with guilt attached, so now even a fair invoice feels like you are taking something instead of exchanging value. These moments do not have to be dramatic to become powerful. A small humiliation repeated enough times can become a private law. A sentence said at the dinner table can become the ceiling over your entire adult life. And the cruelest part is that you may still be loyal to people who were not trying to limit you, but were only repeating the limits they inherited. That does not make the belief sacred. It makes it traceable. So I want you to ask 3 questions, not as homework, but as a mirror you cannot unsee. First, what was the first time you felt that asking for money was wrong? Not illegal, not selfish in theory, but wrong in your body. Second, who was in that scene and what did that person believe about prosperity, comfort, ambition, or being seen? Third, was that belief truly yours, or did it pass into you so quietly that you began defending it as wisdom? If you knew your relationship with money was taught and not inherited, what would you have done differently until today? Because once you see the origin, the spell weakens. It may not disappear in one breath, and I will never insult you by pretending it does. But what has a name can be questioned. What can be questioned can lose authority. You are not discovering a flaw. You are locating an installation. The belief loses its disguise, and for the first time, you can separate your future from someone else's fear. Seeing the file does not erase anything, but it is the only way to begin rewriting. There is a softer moment after you see the pattern, and I do not want to rush you past it. Sometimes the first honest breath after recognition is not relief. It is grief. You realize you were not only managing money, you were managing belonging, judgment, memory, and the fear of becoming someone people would no longer recognize. So let this land slowly. You do not have to become fearless today. You do not have to love abundance immediately. You do not have to force confidence on top of a body that just admitted how long it has been bracing. The first shift is quieter than that. It is the moment you stop treating your resistance as proof that you are incapable and start seeing it as evidence that an old protection is asking to retire, not because it was useless, because it has finished the job it was built for. When that resistance begins to soften, even slightly, energy returns from defense to construction. The same energy you used to over-explain your price can become the energy you use to state it cleanly. The same attention you used to search for reasons you are not ready can become the attention you use to prepare one honest offer. The same instinct that made you minimize your value can begin to notice where you keep giving away pieces of yourself to feel accepted. This is where the difference between fear disguised as maturity and real wisdom becomes clear. Fear says, "Do not ask, because asking could disturb the peace." Wisdom says, "Ask with clarity, and let the response show you what is real." Fear says, "Stay realistic," but secretly means, "Stay where no one can challenge you." Wisdom says, "Respect risk without making limitation your religion." One keeps you frozen inside a story you already know. The other lets you move with your eyes open. And the strange thing is that real wisdom often feels less dramatic than fear. It does not rush, collapse, or beg. It simply chooses without abandoning you. And this is where the change becomes visible in behavior, not in slogans. You charge without apologizing in the sentence after the number. You receive a compliment without shrinking it into a joke. You let money arrive and do not immediately invent a crisis to prove you cannot keep it. You plan without destroying the plan before it has time to breathe. I knew someone who doubled her income in a year, not because she suddenly became more talented, but because she stopped returning what came to her in hidden ways. She stopped offering discounts to kind people just because kindness made her feel obligated. She stopped lending money to relatives who treated her boundaries like betrayal. She stopped saying, "It is not a big deal," when it was a big deal to her body, her time, and her future. Nothing about that looked dramatic from the outside. She still made mistakes. She still felt the old pull when a bigger payment arrived. But instead of treating discomfort as a warning to retreat, she started treating it as a signal that her capacity was being stretched. Her skill did not double first. Her permission did, and once permission changed, her choices stopped asking the past for approval. That is the staircase. First, you stop calling self-abandonment generosity. Then you stop calling undercharging humility. Then you stop calling fear intelligence, just because it speaks in a calm voice. A new financial frequency is not built by pretending you never learned the old one. It is built when you notice the old pull and choose one cleaner movement anyway. One cleaner invoice. One cleaner boundary. One cleaner yes. One cleaner no. Not dramatic, not perfect, just honest enough to interrupt the file. And over time, the body learns a new association. Receiving does not have to mean danger, and growth does not have to mean exile. The first time may feel unnatural. The second may still shake your voice. The third may feel less like rebellion and more like returning to yourself. That is how the climb begins, not with a performance of certainty, but with a smaller refusal to betray what you know now. You do not need to believe that fully yet. You only need to stop proving you were right about yourself. You were trained for scarcity, but training is not identity. I want you to hear that before the old voice tries to make this small. You were not born asking permission to exist with ease. You were not born believing that every dollar had to be defended, explained, justified, or immediately redirected to someone else. You learned that. You learned it in quiet rooms, in tense conversations, in warnings disguised as wisdom, in jokes that made desire feel embarrassing. You learned it every time someone praised you for needing less while secretly benefiting from how much you gave. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. Not by pretending the past did not touch you. Not by shaming the version of you that adapted, but by refusing to keep calling adaptation destiny. The file says, do not ask. Do not receive too much. Do not become visible. Do not outgrow the room that taught you how to stay acceptable. But the file is not God. The file is not truth. The file is not your future. It is a record of what your system had to believe in order to remain connected, protected, and predictable. Now you can look at it and say, this kept me alive, but it cannot lead my life. Enough. No more. Not this time. You can earn without apologizing. You can receive without shrinking. You can grow without betraying where you came from. You can hold more without becoming hard, cold, arrogant, or unreachable. The people who taught you fear may never understand your expansion, but their discomfort is not evidence that you are wrong. This is where the seed finally opens. The problem was never how much you earn. It was the unnamed permission you kept waiting for before allowing your life to expand. You waited for someone to tell you it was okay to charge, okay to keep, okay to want, okay to stop rescuing everyone at the cost of your own future. But no one from the old room can give you permission to leave the old room. That permission has to rise inside you, quietly at first, then with the kind of force that no longer needs to be loud. It shows up when you send the price without adding a discount out of panic. It shows up when you let a good month stay good without inventing punishment. It shows up when you choose not to confuse guilt with guidance. You are not poor in money. You are poor in permission. And the moment permission returns, money stops being only a number and starts becoming a mirror of what you are finally willing to hold. So if this touched something you have been carrying in silence, tell me, because I want to keep building this path with you. Follow me here, not because you need another voice to obey, but because you deserve a space that reminds you of what you are learning to stop abandoning. And when this ends, I want the final screen to hold one sentence long enough for your body to believe it. I am allowed to receive without leaving myself. Let it stay there. Let it breathe. Let it interrupt the old file one more time. Maybe today nothing outside changes yet, but something inside stops, kneeling to a rule it never chose. That is where the shift begins. What would you have built if you had never believed it was not meant for you?